1950s, the United States government passed openly racist laws to support the strong opposition to immigrants. This program, designed to stop and deport the entry of undocumented Mexicans into the United States, is known as Operation Wetback. Operation Wetback was put into effect by President Dwight D. Eisenhower and initiated on June 16, 1954. The massive rounds of deportations of undocumented Mexicans and U.S. citizens of Mexican descent during Operation Wetback strengthened xenophobia and encouraged anti-Mexican sentiment, a feeling still present today. Firstly, Operation Wetback was a one-year government-sponsored project that led to the deportation and voluntary departure of hundreds of thousands of Mexicans in 1954. The name of this operation is Wetback because it is a slur used for undocumented Mexican workers. During World War II, the United States faced shortages in agricultural labor because of the demands for almost everything during the war. As a result of this high need for workers, the United States established a mutual program with Mexico to import braceros, male Mexican field workers. Compared to braceros, who were contracted and had some rights, undocumented immigrants who crossed the border to work had even fewer rights. Of course, the farmers were satisfied with the agreement because of the new cheap labor. Being illegal versus legal was what distinguished Mexicans within the American society. But in 1954, both undocumented immigrants and Spanish-speaking citizens were deported regardless of legality. Secondly, to understand how this project came out to be, we have to analyze the impact of the United States Border Patrol. The Border Patrol was created in 1924, and it has been a leading force in creating anti-Mexican sentiment. It is important to note that one of the goals of the Border Patrol was to present themselves as guards of American society to protect Americans from the so-called dangerous Mexicans. The Border Patrol's biased and racist picture of undocumented Mexicans introduced fear onto American society, and this created a social problem. Labeling undocumented Mexican people as wetbacks supported the Border Patrol's image of Mexican workers being simple-minded, backward, pathetic, and oppressed. Undocumented Mexicans were not only abused by their employers, but by anyone opposed to immigration. This made the Mexican stereotype seem true, because undocumented Mexicans were unable to fight for themselves on either side of the border. Operation Wetback extended to Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Chicago, where the majority of the undocumented community had settled. Within the first 3 months of the operation, 170,000 immigrants had been detained at the rate of 3,000 workers per day. How did the Border Patrol manage to deport such large quantities of people? By sending them on a bus, forcing them into trains, or shipping them on boats. More than 25% of undocumented Mexicans were removed on cargo ships that ran from Port Isabel, Texas, to Veracruz, Mexico. The conditions were so severe that the ships were called 18th century slave ships and penal hell ships. Those who were train lifted were forced onto guarded trains and taken to unfamiliar places. Thirdly, before Operation Wetback became law, politicians fought to keep this negative image of Mexicans alive. For example, in a 1954 letter sent to President Eisenhower, Senator Hayden from Arizona addresses his alarming concern for the high unemployment. In his letter, Hayden blames the 3,700,000 unemployed population on the influx of wetbacks out of Mexico, who are here illegally. Hayden asked to have the 3 million undocumented workers rounded up and deported, with the intention of having these jobs available for U.S. citizens. Next, it is important to mention that the fear created against Mexicans even caused groups of Mexican Americans to support Operation Wetback. Mexican U.S. citizens blamed Mexican immigrants for being the cause of their socioeconomic problems. They claimed that undocumented workers materially retarded their assimilation. As a result, Americans feared that Mexicans would take advantage of U.S. citizen resources for their own good. For example, officials in California believed Mexicans were a drain upon public resources, and others thought that Mexican immigrants were more likely to commit any crime, such as burglarizing farmhouses, stealing fruits and vegetables to survive. The same ideas are used today when anti-immigrant groups blame Mexicans for the loss of American jobs and accuse all Mexicans of using welfare. As a result of this fear, the American public depended on the U.S. Border Patrol to protect them from the claimed Mexican dangers. To conclude, the fears of Mexicans taking jobs is not a recent idea. The long-lasting effect of Operation Wetback continues to exist today. Most recently, President Trump has been the primary supporter of a contemporary Operation Wetback. Ultimately, Trump's creation of fear and hatred against Mexicans increases the American opinion to deport all Mexicans, stop immigration, and strengthen the border. Let us not forget that even though we are in 2018, the ideas from the 1950s are present